Our success and failure in this war, it will have to depend on how much we have prevented the enemy from killing us. And the fact that we are here all indicates that we have been very successful.
Emmanuel Ifeajuna, a Nigerian high jumper, was the first black African to win a gold medal, but his remarkable story had a tragic end. The first time Emmanuel Ifeajuna appeared before a crowd of thousands, he did something no black African had ever done. He won a gold medal at an international sporting event. Nigeria creates what sensation ran the headline in the West African pilots after Ifeajuna's record-breaking victory in the high jump at the 1954 Empire and Commonwealth Games in Vancouver. He was the pride not just of Nigeria, but also of a whole continent. An editorial asked, "Who among our people did not weep for shared joy when Nigeria came upmost, beating all whites and blacks together?" In the words of a former schoolmate, Ifeajuna had leaped to the very pinnacle of Nigerian sporting achievement. His 9 tracks and field teammates won another 6 silver and bronze medals, prompting a special correspondent to write, "Rejoice with me, O ye sport lovers of Nigeria, for the remarkable achievements of our 4 boys." Ifeajuna, feted wherever he went, would soon see his picture on the front of school exercise books. He was a great national hero who would remain Nigeria's only gold medalist in Commonwealth or Olympic sports until 1966. The next time Ifeajuna appeared before a crowd of thousands, he was bare-chested and tied to a stake, facing execution before a mob. He had led a military coup in January of 1966, in which, according to an official but disputed police reports, he shot and killed Nigeria's first prime minister. The coup failed, but Ifeajuna escaped to safety in Ghana, dressed as a woman, and was driven to freedom by famous poets. 20 months later, he was back, fighting for the persecuted Igbo people of eastern Nigeria in a brutal civil war that broke out as consequence of the coup. Ifeajuna and 3 fellow officers were accused by their own leader, General Chukwuemeka Ojukwu, of plotting against him and the breakaway Republic of Biafra. They denied charges of treason. They were trying to save lives and their country, they said, by negotiating an early ceasefire with the federal government and reuniting Nigeria. They failed, they died, and in the next 2.5 years, so did more than 1 million Igbos. The day of the execution was September the 25th of 1967, and the time 1:30 p.m. There was a very short gap between trial and execution, not least because federal troops were closing in on Enugu, the Biafran capital, giving rise to fears that the guilty 4 might be rescued. As the execution approached, the 4 men, Ifeajuna, Victor Banjo, Philip Alali, Sam Abam, were tied to stakes. Ifeajuna with his head on his chest as though he was already dead. That his death would not stop what he had feared most, that federal troops would enter Enugu. And the only way to stop these was for those about to kill him to ask for a ceasefire. The body of soldiers drew up with their automatic rifles at the ready. On the order of the officer, they leveled their guns at the bare chests of the 4 men. As a historical mass behind the firing squad shouted, "Shoot them! Shoot them!" a grim-looking officer gave the command. Fire! The deafening volley was followed by rolling heads. Ifeajuna slumped. Great Nigerian sporting hero died a villain's death. But he had been right. By 4 p.m., 2.5 hours after the executions, the gunners of the federal troops had started to hit their targets in Enugu with great accuracy. The Biafrans began to flee and the city fell a few days later. Of all the many thousands of gold medalists at the Empire and Commonwealth Games since 1930, none left such a mark on history, led such a remarkable life, or suffered such a shocking death as Ifeajuna. His co-plotter in the 1966 coup, Chukwuemeka Nzogo, was buried with full military honors and had a statue erected in his memory in his hometown. But for Ifeajuna, the hateful verdict of that certain mob carried weighed down the years. His name was revealed. His sporting glory all but written out of Nigerian's history. His name is absent from the website of Athletic Federation of Nigeria, appearing neither in the history of the federation nor in any other section. There is no easy road to redemption for the gold medalist who inadvertently started a war and was shot for trying to stop it. After a couple of weeks at home, Ifeajuna was off to university on the other side of the country at Ibadan. His sporting career was already over. Apart from a rare appearance in inter-varsity matches, he met his future wife, Rose, in 1955. They married in 1959 and had 2 sons. After graduating in zoology, he taught for a while before joining the army in 1960 and was trained in England. Ifeajuna had first shown an interest in the military in 1956 when during a summer holiday in Abeokuta, he had visited the local barracks with a friend who later became one of the most important figures in the Commonwealth. Chief Emeka Anyaoku joined the Commonwealth Secretariat in 1966, the year of Ifeajuna's coup attempt. While his good friend escaped, returned, fought in the war and died in front of the firing squad, Anyaoku moved to London, where he rose to the highest office in the Commonwealth, the Secretary General, in 1990. For 4 years at the university, he lived in a room next door to Ifeajuna, who became a close friend. Why did the record-breaking champion stop competing? At this point of this documentary, I'm sure you watching would be asking, why did the record-breaking champion stop competing? From October 1954, when he enrolled at the Ibadan University, he never trained, says Anyaoku. Nearly 60 years later, he never had a coach, only his game master at grammar school, and there were no facilities at the university. He simply stopped. He seemed content with celebrating his gold medal. I didn't think the Olympics ever tempted him. I used to tease him that he was the most natural hero in sports. He did no special training. He was so gifted. He just did it all by himself. Jumping barefoot with no shoe was not unusual where we came from. Another hugely influential voice from Nigerian history pointed out that Ifeajuna, in his early days as student, had a fairly good record of rebellion. Olusegun Obasanjo served as head of military regime, and as an elected president, he recalled Ifeajuna's role in a protest that led to the closure of his grammar school in Onitsha for a term in 1951 when he was 16. 3 years later, after winning gold, while at the university, Ifeajuna made a rousing speech before leading several hundred students in protest against poor food and conditions. The former president also held a manuscript written by Ifeajuna in the aftermath of the coup, but never published. He stated, "It was unity we wanted, not rebellion. We had watched our leaders rape our country. The country was so diseased that bold reforms were badly needed to settle social, moral, economical, and political questions. We fully realized that to be caught planning, let alone acting, on our lines was high treason, and the penalty for high treason is death." The coup, codenamed Leopard, was planned in secret meetings. Major Ifeajuna led a small group in Lagos, whose main target were the Prime Minister, the Army's Commander-in-Chief, and the Brigadier, who was Ifeajuna's first victim. According to the official police reports, part of which has never been made public, Ifeajuna and a few of his men broke into the Prime Minister's home, kicked down his bedroom door, and led out Balewa in his white robe. They allowed him to say his prayers and drove him away in Ifeajuna's car. On the road to Abeokuta, they stopped. Ifeajuna ordered the Prime Minister out of the car, shot him, and left his body in the bush. Others say that the Prime Minister was not shot, nor was the intention ever to kill him. Balewa died of an asthma attack or a heart attack brought on by fear. There has never been conclusive evidence either way. Ifeajuna drove to Enugu, where it became apparent the coup had failed, mainly because of one of the key officers in Ifeajuna's Lagos operation had turned traitor and had failed to arrive as planned with armored cars. Major General Ironsi, the main military target, was still at large, and he soon took control of the military government. Ifeajuna was now a wanted man. He hid in the chemist shop, disguised himself as a woman, and was driven over the border by his friend Christopher Okibo, a poet of great renown. Then he traveled on to Ghana, where he was welcomed. Ifeajuna eventually agreed to return to Lagos, where he was held pending trial. Ojukwu, by now a senior officer, ensured his safety by having him transferred in April to a jail in the east. Igbos who lived in the north of the country were attacked. In weeks of violent bloodshed, tens of thousands died. As the death toll increased, the outcome was civil war. In May of 1967, Ojukwu, the military governor of the southeast of Nigeria, declared that the region had now become the Republic of Biafra. By the time the fighting ended in early 1970, the number of deaths would be in the millions. Arguably, if either of Ifeajuna's plots had been a success, those lives would not have been lost. The verdict on his role in Nigerian history and many are varied. His detractors had held sway. Chief among them was Bernard Odogu, Biafran's head of intelligence, who branded Ifeajuna a traitor and blamed him for failure and atrocities in the 1966 coup. Adewale Ademoyega, one of the 1966 plotters, held a different view of Ifeajuna. He was rather a complicated character, intensely political and revolutionary, very influential among those close to him, generous and willing to sacrifice anything for the revolution. The last time Anyaoku saw Ifeajuna was in 1963 in Lagos, before Anyaoku's departure for a diplomatic role in New York. He later moved to London and was there in 1967. I was devastated when I heard the news of the execution, he said. As for Ifeajuna being all but written out of Nigerian sporting history, he noted that the history of the Civil War still evokes a two-sided argument. He is a hero to many people, though they would more readily talk about his gold medal than his involvement in the war. There are people who think that he was unjustifiably executed, and others who believe the opposite. Thank you so much for watching this very documentary on Emmanuel Ifeajuna, a man who moved from being a Nigerian hero to being executed by his own brothers. If you found this very documentary compelling, do well to drop a comment and tell us your take on the life and time of Emmanuel Ifeajuna, and as well hit the like button and the notification bell as well. And before you leave, please do well to subscribe to this YouTube channel. Once again, thank you so much for watching.